So let
Yeah.
me ask you, man, to even have a mentor at that time, but can I ask, like, what ended you up in foster care? Because I can't just slide over that.
Yeah.
And made y'all like have separate foster homes.
Yeah. So when we ended up getting discovered that we were living home alone, it was me, my brother, and my older sister. My mom took off to Haiti. One of my sisters, I have two older sisters. She left with only the oldest one to go to Haiti for her dad's funeral. Some things happened there that caused her to kind of get stuck on the island. And so while she was stuck there, we were just, thugging it out, living home alone, still going to school, and just doing life, as usual. And if anybody know how you're raised in a Caribbean household, the oldest is almost trained and conditioned to almost be a mini adult. So even though my sister was like
Right.
mad young, my brother being 6 at the time, I'm 7, we looked up to her like an adult figure. But one day we came home from school and we were greeted by an officer and a lady, and they just asked us questions. They split us up, and next thing you know, we packing bags and being transported in cars, going to different locations. And that was just when our journey started of being in a system and being in foster care.
My God. So what does that even do to you at that? Like, what is your mindset at that age? Because you were still young. Like,
hmm
what's your mindset when now you're getting like split up from the only family that you know?
hmm it felt like a nightmare. It felt like a movie. I remember me and my brother did leave in the same car. My older sister was the only one that got transported in a separate vehicle. And I remember they dropped my brother off to one home first, and I cried my behind off, holding on to
Right.
homeboy ankle. I didn't want to let him go. And so that
Mm.
first night they allow us to stay together at the same home. But then when I woke up, he wasn't there, and that's when the foster parent was like, "Hey, I don't have space. I wasn't able to, you know, accommodate your brother to stay here." But for me, it was a world that I didn't even know existed until it became my reality. Because I was just like,
Wow.
all I knew was my family, my siblings. So now being moved into a home of strangers, especially where the first home was a Caucasian person that don't know this 4C hair, don't know my culture, don't know nothing about me. So it's just like I'm now living in a house with strangers, um, having to change schools. It was a lot.
Wow.
It was a lot.
Man, a lot of people go through that and my heart go out to them. Um, my sister who is a social worker, right?
Mhm.
And funny, my sister was on season 1, but she's a social worker and she tells me a lot of different stories about kids in the foster care system. And I want to know, like, what would you change about the foster care system if you could?
Ooh, if they could try to keep sibling groups together, that would be my biggest advocate. Try to keep
Yeah.
sibling groups together because it's already damaging that you're snatching someone from the place they know as home, no matter what the condition is. Because I've always said this to this day. I was like, though I was like raised in the projects, the hood of the hood,
Mm-hmm.
I will accept that any day to be with my siblings, not knowing what we're gonna eat, hearing gunshots outside the window versus living with strangers and I'm separated from my siblings. So
Yeah.
my biggest thing, if there's anything I could change in the system, would be like keep sibling groups together,
Yeah.
work harder to try to find relatives that could get the kids out the system, like, and no flex, like, and that was the reason why I went to school for social work and I did a few years in social services, but I realized I needed some healing, so I had to come out of it because mentally it was
Mm,
a lot trying to go back and work in the system and realizing like I haven't unpacked and healed from all of my trauma. So I'm like, how can I
mm,
better serve in a capacity that's not in the four walls of this agency? So I still
yeah.
advocate, I still help with events that gives back to youth in foster care.
Mm.
I found my realm in safety place of how I could still be a part and not be like in the midst of reading cases that's, awakening things in me and me feeling
Yes.
some way. And, me realizing when I went back to work with the agency, I'm like, yo, this is a money machine. Like, y'all intentionally not looking for relatives to get these kids out the system. That way, every child in the system is a check, you
Mm,
know? And so that
mm.
would be my biggest thing, keeping sibling groups together and, working harder to find relatives that would, accept these kids and get them out the system.
Absolutely. Absolutely.